welcome back to the Body Pod. I have Haley here with me, of course.
Yes.
Okay, we are talking about something that we have been discussing personally for the last couple of weeks. And I think Haley is an expert in this, um, on this subject. And it is how to work around an injury and keep your exercise and body moving.
Yes. This is the biggest thing that I see and I hear from clients all the time is I will check in with clients that have done courses from me, either that I've worked one-on-one with or that have just done one of my group courses. And whenever I just randomly check in on people, some of them will be like, "Oh, well, I had surgery. It's been terrible, blah, blah, blah." And surgery is never fun for anyone. But I always look at surgery in a couple of different ways. So I just had surgery last week and I'm not allowed or able to do any heavy lifting or any upper body exercises. So I think we have to get it out of our heads like, oh, well, I can't really do anything. I can just walk, which is fine if that's all you can do. But those of you that want more, I always will make a list about what I can do, not what I can't, but what I can do. And there are always so many exercises that will fill up whatever weeks I have where I can't, and I'll just do those. So I look at it as a time of growth of really challenging myself. What can I do? So right now I can't do upper body. So I'm doing a lot of leg press at the gym. I'm doing a lot of unilateral work for hamstrings, single leg hamstring curl on a Swiss ball, single leg squats to a box, single leg step ups, all of these things that really are so good and we should implement into our routines anyways. But it's a little bit easier because then you don't have to lift as heavy. You're cutting the load in half when you're doing unilateral work. But then I also can still work core and I can work ankle stabilization and balance. I can work calves. So making a list of like, well, what are the areas that aren't off limits and what can I do? So there's still a bunch that I can do. And, on the flip side, I know we worked through your knee surgery and I myself had knee surgery in 2019. Laura did. Has it been almost 2 years now?
Yeah, it's been almost 2 years, and Haley saved me during this time, and I do think it is when you do make that list, it's always surprising how many things you can do. For me, it was my left knee, so I had my right leg and then my whole upper body, and it really is fascinating to write it all down and really see what isn't off the table. And I think that you're doing this now too. There are some exercises we kind of just say we kind of don't we aren't drawn to or they aren't our favorite even though they're super important, which probably stabilization exercises or different things like that. So it is a time and opportunity I feel like to work on things that maybe you normally wouldn't, and because you aren't able to do everything 100%, you're able to just work on the things that you should be and think outside the box and have fun with it instead of thinking it as being super restrictive and it's annoying or frustrating, which healing from non-elective surgeries, I would say like a knee injury, um, is way more frustrating than an elective surgery,
100%.
but trying to find, some excitement in it or new goals helped me, and Haley really, really helped me through those dark mental days because Haley and I are the same this way. If we don't move our body, it's bad news
Bad
mentally
news
for us.
bears.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yes, and I remember we did a lot of so I was like, "Okay, Laura, what do you wanna focus on?" And we're like, "Okay, shoulders." Every woman wants great shoulders. So we did a lot of shoulder work, we did a lot of biceps and triceps and did trisets of the biceps and the trisets so that we were really getting a lot of bang for your buck because these are smaller muscle groups, and so they're not gonna burn as many calories. They can they'll fatigue quicker than the larger compound movements. And so it's really good to just give yourself a goal. So when I had my knee surgery in 2019, I was completely immobile for 6 weeks on that one leg, and I'd read this research about the crossover effect, and I just actually had Tony send me an article. We think it's gonna be a fantastic conversation for another podcast episode. But pretty much it means that working one leg, since the other leg, it was my left knee too. So weird.
Oh my gosh, I never even thought about that till right now. Both of
Samesies.
us.
We like to be twinners.
Yes, we
Winners
love
on the knee surgery.
yes.
So, I couldn't even touch down my toe for 6 weeks, but I could work the right leg, and so when I was in physical therapy, they still had me if I was squeezing and just doing, like, an isometric squeeze of the quad of the leg that had been injured because I could squeeze the quad, but I couldn't bend the knee. I would also squeeze the quad on the right side. And there's this crossover effect that if you're working the stronger limb and there's a limb that's immobilized, you're still getting a little bit of crossover, cross transfer of that work to the immobile leg, which is so fascinating that the brain can even do that and the body can even do that. But, that's for another episode. Super interesting. The one thing that I want to point out though is to not just take it as like a complete vacation. Find something that you can do. So, it's lower body is much harder than upper body when you are immobilized. So, like, when I couldn't swim, I couldn't, do anything lower body. So, I'm gonna tell you, my physical therapist thought I was a nut job. I would go sit on the arm ergometer, so the arm bike that you just spin your arms, and I would do steady state zone 2 for,
Which
like,
is what I
50.
ended up doing.
Yeah, 50 or 60 minutes, and then on other days I didn't have that much time, I would do intervals with my upper body. Now, of course, I'm not getting as much out of that as a lower body session would be on a bike, but I didn't have that option. So I always was looking for what can I do because you lose muscle the first week of immobilization, you will lose some muscle strength. It's not that much, but once you hit, after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, all of that, it becomes really noticeable the strength loss that you can have from being on bed rest. Obviously, sometimes if you get in a car accident, all these things like I'm not saying that at all, but if you have the ability to work other limbs, your core, anything else, look for weak areas and focus on those because it does give you a different challenge. That's when I actually got my first pull up, I think, because I could do pull up.
No, I agree, and I really would love to do an episode on the crossover method with the experts because that was something that when you told me about that, I was so fascinated by the concept of that, and it
Yes.
does make sense to me. So I actually would love to dive into that deeper with our experts and have someone on, about that. And the other thing that I remember thinking gave me a little bit of peace of mind is muscle memory, which we should probably I would love to know Dr. Tony's take on, like, what his expert input is on muscle memory, but
100%.
yeah, but I definitely love your theory, Haley, of focusing on what can you do and giving yourself new goals. And there's a couple of things that I fell in love with that now are just a normal part of my regimen from my knee surgery.
Yeah. Yeah, so really looking at that positive spin, which is not fun to do, and I'm gonna tell you, again, when you said non-elective surgery, my knee took much longer to heal than they told me it would. Laura's knee, same thing. So a lot of the times when you're in that moment, it is so frustrating to be like, I'm never going to get better. This is going to be like this forever. And Laura, you even went in 1 or 2 times to have
Oh,
a
yeah, I
manipulation.
ended up having to have 2 more surgeries. So I had a total of 3. The first one,
Oh,
the second, and then the third one because of scar tissue, but still, you kind of feel like you're starting at that start line again, and it mentally was so hard. I had so many dark days. I called Haley a couple of times in tears and I just said, "Please tell me I'm gonna be normal again because
yeah.
I'm losing my mind." So I do think that all of those dark moments are real, especially when people are healing from car accidents or even
Mhm.
just an accident. I know people who have just torn their Achilles, and which is a super hard surgery too.
Yeah.
So I do think also acknowledging there are going to be hard moments no matter how positive of a spin you're putting on it. So give yourself a break. But I think the best thing you can do is give back to yourself and your body by trying to maintain that strength and
Yep.
positive attitude during the hard times.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Haley, for giving us your input on this subject. You helped me so much, and hopefully, this helps any of you guys out there who are going through any type of surgery. And good luck with your healing, Haley.
Thank you. I am gonna say you can reach out to me in my DMs because although I, won't have time to, like, tailor a program for you, I definitely can just rattle off a bunch of exercises depending on what you tell me, what kind of surgery you had, knowing that your doctor needs to approve it. I mean, I'm not the doctor, but at least giving you an idea of what you can do around an area. Because a lot of it is just like, "Well, I know because 'cause I'm in the fitness industry, all, XYZ that I can do," but that doesn't necessarily mean that everyone is thinking those same things. So, happy to help if I can, and thank you so much for joining us. We will be back next week.
Bye, guys.